People always ask if we train children too. Now, we don't train children, but if you put some of these techniques together, you might be able to use them on your child. See, there's a few components that work together to make an obedient dog. The most important one is communication. It's about connecting the dots between what you're relaying and how the dog understands it. See, all these words that we use, they ain't nothing but sounds to the dog. All right, let me make it simple. When you tell your dog, good girl, and she starts wagging her tail, why does she wag her tail? She wags her tail because you created an association. You said good girl and you gave her a treat, or you said good girl and you gave her a pet. So she associated that word to those actions, so that made her happy. So anytime she hears good girl, she's happy. It's the same when you correct your dog, whatever words you use. No, some people cuss at the dog, some people say bad dog, whatever words you use, the dog associated those words and that sound to a correction. So now he has a response based off of that word. So that's the baseline of our verbal communication. We say good girl or bad boy or whatever, and the dog associates it, and you see a response out of the dog based on how you responded in the past. Now, when it comes to communication, we're also communicating with our body language and how our voice changes when we say whatever we're saying. All right, to keep this simple, we're going to talk about one thing. I'm just going to call it directional confidence. It's when we're working on one specific thing. We're zooming in our camera lens all the way just to work on one action. This is like if you're teaching your son how to jab in boxing. You're teaching him how to throw his arms and how to tuck his chin and so on and so forth, right? Let's say if I want to create a confidence in a sit position. The first part is just forming the sit, right? It's like teaching your son how to jab. That's the first part, teaching him how to jab, teaching the dog how to sit. But now when I start bringing other things in the environment, that dog might get nervous. The dog might get scared of cars going by. It might get afraid of one of these cows that's behind me. You get what I'm saying? So the confidence is going to become shaky, and when the confidence becomes shaky, you're going to see the behavior break down. Without confidence, you won't have no stable obedience in your dog. Whenever I'm shaping that dog's confidence, I'm going to give it pets when it does it the right way to assure the dog that I'm pleased with what you're doing. Whenever you're shaping whatever behavior you're working on, there's always going to be obstacles that's going to come up. If you take too long before you start training your dog, and your dog is a real active dog, you're going to start yelling at that dog, and that's going to make the dog lose confidence, because every time he turns around, you're going to be yelling about doing this or yelling about doing this, but the dog doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing. To him, you seem more erratic. You make him more nervous than anything. It's all about the association. What's happening in that environment? How are you responding in that environment? The dog is considering all these things. Let's say if I had a chair that I wanted this dog to sit in, like literally sit in. I wanted him to jump up on this chair and just sit there. Let's say if he jumps up on that chair and the chair falls over when he jumps on the chair, he's going to be reluctant the next time to jump in that chair. But if he jumps in that chair and then it doesn't fall, it's stable, and then I go over there and I give him praise and I give him a reward, then he feels a little bit more confident about doing it a second time. Now, if that chair falls from up under the dog, then the dog's gonna be super nervous about trying that same thing a second time. Now, once I've gotten the dog to a place where it feels comfortable jumping on that chair, now I can start working on it going into a down position on that chair. So once you have built confidence in the dog, then you can go to the next level and the next thing. But if you don't take the time to build the confidence the right way, you have nothing to build on. Trust is a major building block when it comes to obedience, because the dog has to trust you. It has to trust that is safe with you. It has to trust your personality and your behaviors. That's why you have to make sure to be disciplined when you're training your dog. Training your dog will feel like an acting job, because you got to muffle how you really feel, and then you have to give that dog whatever it needs to be developed. It's the same way with relationships, or if you're mentoring somebody, you can't always show how you feeling. You got to give them what they need for them to progress and for them to grow. It's the same thing with a dog. A lot of times when you're training your dog, you're going to start seeing your personality come right back at you. You'll start to see your flaws. You'll see where you're too hard. You'll see where you're too soft. So the dog within itself will become a mirror